Oh God.
What do you mean? It's
Oh, close.
I knew it'd help that. It won't help the next one. First I must thank my wife for all the hard
Speak up.
I must
Project
thank
with your theatrical resonance.
Maybe everyone
I must
moving
thank my
closer.
wife.
No, he needs to bellow.
If I didn't have so much competition, it might be easier.
You came to the wrong house.
I am trying very hard to be polite. You're not helping. Gary.
Try harder.
Thank you all for coming, and thank you, Bernie, for doing all of this hard work.
Yes.
Yay!
I also thank Jolly and Sally for providing such beautiful food.
Thank you, Eve.
Mary for helping, and Lee as well. But I want to thank you all for coming. Being 70, you do get to think about a bit of a reflection on life, and one of the things I thought about was the Creedence song, "Fortunate Son."
I wasn't thinking that one.
Fortunate Son.
I thought it was Run Through the Jungle.
Fortunate Son is where he's complaining about what a bad life he has. He's never had it. He wasn't born to a senator. He wasn't born rich. He seemed to have been born with a lot of talent I don't have, but I was fortunate in many, many, many other ways. And one of those ways was being born white and male, and being born in
You racist bastard.
It's true
I was born in a Western country where I never went hungry, and I got a free education. And then I was also born to two parents who wanted to come and live here. And this is the place where I made my fortune, and I did very well, much, much better than I would have done if I'd have stayed in England. So I was very fortunate in that. And then I was fortunate to live in the era of Gough Whitlam.
Yes.
You.
Many of us were.
Yeah,
Here you go.
who gave us all free education.
Yes.
Very small window, unfortunately.
Yeah, he gave us
Too
free
small.
education, none of this hex nonsense. I was actually paid to go to university, and I was also paid to be a single parent, so I could look after these two, and we were able to put food on the table and have a roof over it. I also had a great. I was also able. I was also able to buy a house in a not the best street, but certainly one of the best suburbs in Brisbane, and I was very fortunate then, after my degree, to do a couple of things, to work for a couple of unions that I really enjoyed. One of my former bosses over there, she'll deny that she's my boss, but she actually told me what to do every day. So. and I did it. Then I was fortunate then one day to be working for a barrister who then became a judge, and he said to me, he showed me how to do this thing called noting up. And while I was noting up, I read this case, Edwards Hot Water System against Hart. Now, Solar Hart and Edwards Hot Water System had a stash, and it ended up in the Supreme Court of New South Wales. In the first instance, under a single judge, and then in the second instance, it went to the full bench and was overturned. But after it was overturned, and that word there is important, after it was overturned, it was the first case was relied upon in Western Australia. And I looked upon that and I said, how could this be? I said to my lawyer mate, I said, how is it that they use a case, that they rely on this case after it was overturned. And he said the words that I will never forget. It's not the judge's fault. There's no way for him to find out. Ding! Little light bulb went off in my head, and I said, well, how can I tell him this? How can I explain? How can I give this judge and all of these other judges and all these other lawyers this information that they needed? And that became Pink Ribbon Publishing, and I was very, very, very fortunate to hit that just at the right time when all of the technology was available for me to bring it all together. And Monty over there helped with a lot of the business planning involved in that. And Mark over there was one of the first lawyers I hired. Actually, well, did I hire you? Well, I gave you free stuff for your work.
He looked dodgy, so that's why you hired him.
I did buy him a lot of coffee. And then after that, I was very fortunate to be able to retire. I got 40, and so basically, ever since then, I've done whatever the hell I want.
I love that.
Good for you. Yeah.
But most of all, I've been fortunate to have these 2 kids and my 2 grandkids and my family and friends, and I'll just thank you all for being here, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you are what makes life worth living. I'm very, very grateful to have spent this much time on earth. Thank you.
Yeah. Bravo. Do we have any speech responses to Mr. Hanna?
We do.
I'm sure we do.
Tell me all the things I did.
He's got notes.
He doesn't want to stand on the box.
No, don't stand on the box.
Oh, we're not standing
It's
on the
genuinely
box.
broken.
I'd be a bit frightened at that box. Oh, he goes through the box.
This is a man with like 2 missing fingers. So.
And half a plate.
Okay. So the last time I did a speech here, some of you were here, I'm sure. I said that most people think that Dad's just got a bit crazy as he got older. I'm here to say that's bullshit. He's always been batshit crazy.
We were about to correct you. Yeah.
Yeah, if anything, he's got more cognizant. You know, more.
Oh, less
Let's
Yeah.
crazy.
I've got a few examples. So he's a bit of an inventor, but not of a particularly good one. He basically invented that you kids have got it so good thing, like the meme, when I was a kid, because like I was constantly bombarded with, wow, your classroom's got carpet. Wow. What are we doing? Your teacher's nice to you. It was pretty great. And in his defense, it's quite possible that he did actually walk through snow to get to school. But I don't know.
Wasn't far.
thousands.
He didn't. I might come back to that.
I don't remember snow at Bremen High
So
School.
he didn't invent DIY, but because he actually invented get your kids to do it for you. So
It's a learning experience.
what was it? Have you exploited your children today? Or something? He wanted a bumper sticker or something. I was reminded, like, I'm getting house renovations at the moment, and he was like, "Oh, you better paint those. What do they call the
Skirting.
no, the stumps under the house."
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I better paint those things. Oh, they'll rust straight away. They do. And he's like, I did it at my house. And I'm like, no, you fucking did it. I did it. There was a dead rat. I got a splinter in that exercise that I pulled out of my arm like a month later. I was like, this sore's not healing again. Anyway,
True story. So you truly are scarred.
you know that Simpsons episode where like Homer's like the lawnmower jams and Homer's like, but you've got smaller fingers, you know. I think I was one step away from that. Speaking of mowing, we never had a lawnmower when we were kids. When was your first lawnmower? Yeah, exactly. Do you know what he did to mow the lawn? Does anyone know? Do you remember what he did? We did do scissors. I tried it. It didn't work.
We didn't ride the lawn.
No, he got some horses from a paddock and put them in. It was pretty cool for about like a day.
Then there was the horses.
Yeah, there was
The
and
process rub.
he invented like landscaping on a $0 budget.
He maintains that.
He just put a sign up on that. Like we lived on quite a busy, well, it was a reasonably busy road, and so he put a sign saying "Phil wanted," and then because he wanted to build a driveway, and so he got the driveway, and like we're not talking like wheelbarrow. It was dump truck sort of levels, like.
We lived on a corner.
The whole fence, like a fence that high, was like buried. I shit you not. There's so much dirt all of a sudden. No. He did the driveway, and then he's like, oh, it's not good enough. I need to go next level. And so he got the whole side of the house was like covered in filth. And then he got sued. You can tell it, sorry.
Then I got what?
Sued.
Oh, no, they didn't get sued. They threatened to sue. The neighbour came around and goes, oh, you're doing this on purpose because we're trying to sell our house. Which I made no idea. And we're just going to go and see Morris Fletcher and Cross. They're one of the biggest law firms in the country at the time. And so I said to them, I said, well, I should tell you something. Morris Fletcher and Cross are very expensive lawyers. And I'm a poor single parent. I'm going to get legal aid and you're not. Let's see whose money runs out first, yours or the federal government. Did you say anything?
Okay. The next thing he invented was helicopter parenting, but for grammar. Like, So I was banned from watching certain TV shows because the grammar was really bad. So I really wanted to grow up with Grizzly Adams, but that was never.
Legitimate dialect.
He told me the other day that I used to ask endless questions, and then I was like, oh yeah, maybe I did. And then, like, I think he just I asked too many questions and he just started making up the answers. And do you remember, and he's going to hate me for this, but he told me that stars twinkle because the ones that don't twinkle are planets. You definitely said that.
That's true. Stars twinkle because of interstellar dust. There's no interstellar dust.
Anyway, there was no.
Rocket Man should go.
So anybody here would know more?
No, that's not.
No, we don't.
Isn't there the planetary atmosphere?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so you remember a couple of years ago, someone, or maybe a couple of decades ago, someone had that book, the 3-ingredient cookbook. So Dad invented that. So he just didn't catch in. So you can't believe how absolutely dire our like,
Can't be good at everything.
like I tell Dee about what we, you didn't know what garlic was? It's like, no. You can put this is hard to remember. But there was something called tomato fricassee. It was so bad. It was so bad. And I've Googled it and it doesn't exist. It's either being like struck in from the from the
So now we
culinary.
want to know what's in it.
like a tomato that's just been.
Ask your mother.
What-
Your mother taught me.
It had onion and oh, it was so bad.
Onions and tomatoes.
That's it. That's it. 2 ingredients.
That's all right. That's called a supreme salsa.
Oh no. He accidentally invented rock photography just a couple of years ago too, which is he accidentally took the first photo of the go-betweens, and he didn't even realize it until like a year ago. So that was pretty crazy. He let me gave me all his negatives, and I bought a neg scanner, and I scanned all these things, and there was a picture of a band, and I'm a big go-between fan. I didn't recognize, because they were crap photos.
Oh no.
Sorry.
It's your dad's birthday, gonna be nice.
All right. Anyway.
Crap.
Anyway, I literally sent them to a member of the Go-Betweens and said, "Do you recognize who this band is?" And he was like, So that was cool. That was my bad. All right. Okay. So I guess. No, I sent it to what's his name? The guy that.
Robert.
Grant. The guy that played guitar on the last record. What's his name?
It doesn't matter. We'll Google it later.
Yeah.
John.
Will Steed.
Oh, John Wilsey.
Yeah. And he sent him to Robert, and Robert had obviously never seen it. And then I found, anyway, it's a good story. And I actually got an email from Robert thanking me. It was really good. So say something nice.
Yes.
He did answer those questions pretty good that I had.
He was a single dad.
Yeah.
24.
Yeah.
You know any 24-year-olds?
We went to school at the same time. Like I started grade 1 and
That's
he
a tough year.
started repeating year 12 at the same. I thought that was hilarious.
I didn't have to wear a silly uniform.
I've kind of turned out all right.
Takes his studies off, brother.
You know.
I'm sure your sister isn't going to say I'm a crap photographer.
I would say that despite the 3 ingredients, we always had food on the table.
Oh, that's nice.
We always had a roof on our head, over our heads, and times were tough back then, but yeah. You're a good dad.
Hey.
I have one good story. Okay.
Just one? Come on.
I wrote this at work. I had to work today. I wrote this at work, and I went up to one of my colleagues and I said, I had one of those freaky dads, like, and like, get this. I was like, I had this big school presentation, like the project things you have to do, and you'd make it like a
Diorama?
it was like a big poster, and you stick.
Picture it.
Yeah, and you have to actually write the whole thing on it.
Yeah.
Anyways, had that. It was like a lot of pressure and stuff. First up at 9 a.m. Anyway, get out of my seat, go to the front of the class. Then he comes through the door, goes and sits. Nothing said. Nothing. No one. The whole room is just like.
Who's this man?
Who is this pedophile?
My chair. and then looks at, and then I'm just like, look at the teacher and I'm going, what am I? And the teacher's like, stop. And then I had to do it. And then I said that to Bella, and Bella's like, oh, that's so nice. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe.
Interesting father. Oh, what a shit.
All right, that's it.
Yay!
I have to tell you one little story about David. there was a teacher's strike
Low block.
while I was going to university, and he was 6, something like 6. And I said, look, I'm going to have to take him into one of my lectures. They can't get out of it. This is the only time I can get to this lecture. So I drilled him beforehand. I said, look, people hate children in lectures. They hate having children in lectures. You sit there and you
Poor kid would have been terrified.
It's a lot of very, very hard work going on. You need to, you've got pens, you've got paper, you've got drawing. You can do what you like, but you've got to shut up. People are working very hard. So the lecturer comes in and he's drawing away. The lecturer gets up and he starts talking. Yes, something about constitutional law. And David looks at the lecturer and looks at me, looks at the lecturer, looks at me and says, Daddy, is that man bothering you?
That's brilliant.
Is there anybody else who wants to say? I think Mark wants to say something. You can't shut up or whatever. Come on,
Mate, be my guest, mate.
Come on, Mark.
My brother.
I've had 30 good years with you, Paul. And when we started out case-based, I was a first-year barrister. And your program made my life significantly easier. Before coming to the bar, I was a researcher for the High Court, so I knew just how difficult manual research could be. And it was difficult. It would take 4 hours or more to note up a case, as Paul says. That is to find out what happened to a precedent since it was handed down. It's critical skill, and I was pretty frigging good at it, but I still had to put in 4 hours per case. When Paul came along with case-based, it did in 1 second what I did in 4.5 hours.
Wow.
And it was literally revolutionary, and it was pretty accurate, and it was going to be the next best thing, which it was a couple of years later. We had to kick it along. I liked it so much, I assisted Paul's company in rolling it out and helping people. And the people I helped back then still remember it to this day. Some judges I got case-based up and running from still remember it and are grateful, because it was such an important program. It changed our entire practice, and it gave those who had it in the early years an advantage that others didn't have, and that advantage was a winning advantage, because life in the law, certainly in court cases and for barristers, you have 2 skills. You have advocacy, where you talk pretty and hopefully persuasively, cogently, or and you have research skills. You research the cases, and if you've got case-based, that means you can do that relatively quickly and easily and accurately. It allows you to concentrate on your advocacy skills. So he deserves every cent that the company brought him over the next 10 years or so. He sold it to a company that's still flogging it, still calling it case-based, still the same basic thing. It's just all online now. It's not on 15 floppy disks or 2 CDs, or it became really difficult. The whole thing's online. It's used by barristers and solicitors and judges every single day today.
Wow. Amazing.
So while I was assisting the company in 1993, Paul and I became firm friends. We trade each other stories and our friendship. Paul would tell me about the help desk that he ran for case-based, where someone would say, why won't my CD drive work? And it turns out he had a cup of coffee sitting in the middle of his CD drive console. I only had to take the coffee out and put the drive in. And there were, it's just, we found out a whole new level of stupid in that, which we could never have imagined. But Paul has always been, and was then in 1993 when he didn't know me, very generous with his time, very capable in explaining things. As for computers, he was incredibly knowledgeable. And I'm pleased to say we've been friends the whole of that time, since 93.
And diving.
And we've been dive buddies for at least since 2000, so we've been dive buddies for 24 years.
Oh, no.
And we've had some incredible experiences. Happy birthday, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
And can I make one comment on the opposite side of the spectrum, because I'm friends with Bernie, who mentored me, made me be sensible at work over a number of years, allowed me to meet Paul and vet him as a boyfriend at the time. And he did wear a Nakubra and a drives a bone, and I did have to hold my breath and say, yes, sir, seems like a very nice man. He drives a bone. But what can I say? The one thing I'd say about Paul is, Paul, if I ever get into trouble, I know that you would be one of the few people I could ring up and say, I need help, and you'd be there immediately. And I think that's an incredible thing to have as a friend.
Yes.
Here, here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything other than there's cheesecake.